Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Really glad you could join us today. We're plunging into, well, maybe an unexpected corner of the global market.
Uh-huh.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Oh.
We're talking about the global squash equipment market.
Yeah, exactly. And for this deep dive, we're drawing on a pretty comprehensive source. It's a detailed outlook and growth forecast from Cognitive Market Research.
Right.
And our mission, as always, is basically to pull out the most important bits, the key insights from all this data, give you a shortcut, so you're really up to speed on this. Well, it's a niche market, but it's surprisingly dynamic.
It really is. And just to grab your attention right away, let's hit those top-level global figures, because this is where the big picture really starts coming into focus.
Okay.
Globally, this market generated just over, what, $3 billion in 2021?
$3 billion, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's projected to grow to almost $3.6 billion by 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And then, get this, soar to nearly $5 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That's a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of over 4.2%. Consistently. That's pretty solid.
For squash equipment. I mean, that's not just significant. It tells you something fundamental about the sport's sort of quiet expansion.
Definitely.
So with that global picture in mind, let's zoom in. Let's do a regional deep dive, starting with North America.
Okay.
The source points to it as the dominant region right now in terms of market size. So think about this as we go through the numbers. What makes it the leader? And, well, what does its growth story actually look like?
Right. So North America, its market was valued at about $1.35 billion back in 2021.
Okay, $1.35 billion.
And it's projected to reach roughly $2.17 billion by 2033. That gives it a KGR of just over 4%, 4.072% to be precise.
So still growing, but...
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's kind of noteworthy here is that even though it's the biggest piece of the pie right now, its growth rate is actually a little bit below the global average.
Ah, interesting.
Which often hints at, a more mature market. Growth might be steadier, maybe not quite as explosive as elsewhere. That's a great point about maturity. And within North America, well, no surprise, the United States is the biggest player.
Yeah, naturally.
Over $1 billion in 2021, heading towards $1.6 billion by 2033. And its growth rate, just under 4%, kind of mirrors that regional average you mentioned.
Pretty much. But if you look north, Canada, that's a bit more energetic. Canada is showing what the source calls strong growth. Its CAGR is nearing 4.9%.
Okay, noticeably higher.
Yeah. It's projected to almost double its market size from around $135 million in 2021 to nearly $240 million by 2033. So that suggests some, robust expansion drivers are at play there.
Right.
And Mexico also makes a solid contribution. Its growth rate is over 4.1%, moving from about $197 million up to $324 million over the same period.
Right. So a fairly solid picture in North America, led by the U.S., but with Canada showing some real zip. Okay, let's take our deep dive across the Atlantic. Let's see what's happening in Europe. Now, given North America's stable but slightly slower growth, what might we expect here? Maybe similar patterns among the more established squash nations?
Well, Europe's overall squash equipment market, it was sitting around $730 million in 2021.
Okay.
And it's set to reach roughly $1.15 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of just under 4%, 3.978% actually.
So again, growing, but similar pace to North America, slightly under the global average.
Exactly. It continues that theme, established markets.
But hang on. Within that, the United Kingdom really stands out. It's flagged as having strong growth, boasting a 5.1% TAGR.
That's right. That's impressive.
It is. It jumps from around $146 million in 2021 to over $266 million by 2033. And interestingly, Sweden, too. It shows robust expansion. Almost the same CAGR, 5.08%.
Yeah, doubling its market size, too, effectively to over $31 million.
So these two are clearly kind of bucking that regional trend.
Absolutely. They're the accelerators there. Beyond those two, you see a range of steady expansion across the continent.
Okay.
Germany and Spain, for instance, are growing at a solid pace, both above 4% CAGR. Germany's moving towards $120 million, Spain nearing $100 million by 2033.
Still pretty healthy growth.
Definitely. And then countries like France, Italy, Russia, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg, they show more moderate growth, but it's consistent, generally in that 3% to 3.7% range.
I see.
So it paints a picture of, well, a mature but still pretty healthy European market overall, just with a couple of really strong performers pulling up the average a bit.
Got it. Okay, now, let's shift gears because this next region is highlighted as the real growth engine.
Asia Pacific, yeah.
This region boasts the highest regional CAGR, over 5%.
5.009%, yeah.
That kind of growth rate, I mean, that's incredibly significant. It tells you exactly where this market is truly heating up, where the potential is huge.
You're absolutely right. The overall Asia Pacific market, it started just under $455 million in 2021. Expected to surge past $815 million by 2033. That growth is, well, it's undeniable. It really sets the global pace.
And within Asia-Pacific, India, it's highlighted as one of the fastest-growing markets globally. A striking 5.745% CAGR.
Phenomenal rate.
It really is. That's a leap from about $114 million in 2021 to over $224 million by 2033. It's basically doubling its market size.
Incredible.
Just phenomenal. And China's not far behind either, is it? A strong 5.23% CAGR, growing from around $95 million to $175 million.
Yeah, it really suggests, that rise in middle class, increased leisure spending, maybe greater sports participation in these really populous nations.
Makes sense.
And it's not just them. Beyond those giants, other key Asian markets are also contributing big time to this boom.
Like whoop.
Well, Japan's growing at over 4.2% CAGR, heading towards $109 million. South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, they're all showing really healthy growth rates too, mostly around the 4.7% mark.
Pretty widespread then.
It points to a widespread regional uptick, yeah. In participation, equipment sales, and Southeast Asia as a collective group is also a strong performer. CAGR over 5.2%, nearing $95 million by 2033.
Wow.
So yeah, the overall picture for Asia Pacific, just widespread, energetic expansion. It's really dynamic.
Okay, dynamic is the word for Asia Pacific. Now let's shift our focus South America.
All right.
After looking at that, explosive growth in Asia Pacific,
Yeah.
what kind of trajectory are we going to find here? Is it more like the mature markets, North America and Europe, or something else?
Well, for South America, the market was around $169 million in 2021.
Okay.
Projected to reach about $265 million by 2033. And the growth rate, it's just over 4.1% CAGR.
So kind of in the middle.
Exactly. It puts it squarely in the middle. Solid, consistent growth. Not quite the explosive expansion we just saw in parts in Asia, but steady.
Right. And I guess predictably, Brazil leads the way there.
Yeah. Brazil's the leader, growing from about $82 million in 2021 to over $132 million by 2033. Its CAGR is just over 4.3%.
A good, steady climb for the region's biggest economy. Makes sense.
But what's interesting across the rest of South America is that some countries, like Argentina and Colombia, they're actually showing slightly higher KGRs than Brazil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, both over 4.3%. Argentina is set to reach nearly $39 million. Colombia over $60 million by 2033. So that indicates some, robust individual market expansion within the region.
Yeah.
Peru and Chile are also contributing growth rates around 3.7%, 3.9%. But the real outlier here is the rest of South America category.
I don't know.
It shows a really low TGR, just 0.724%, growing only very modestly from about $11.8 million to $13 million.
Huh. That's tiny growth.
It really suggests that the growth drivers are, highly concentrated in the larger economies on the continent.
Interesting observation. Okay, all right, let's guide our deep dive now to the Middle East. This is a region the source describes as having strong growth momentum.
Let's see.
Let's see if the numbers back that up.
Okay, the overall Middle East squash equipment market, valued around $242 million in 2021.
Right.
Projected to reach nearly $430 million by 2033. And the CAGR, a strong 4.85%.
Okay, so yeah, that definitely confirms the strong momentum description. That's one of the higher growth regions globally.
It is.
And leading the charge there, the UAE, it's flagged for rapid growth, highest TAGR in the region, an impressive 5.58%.
Wow, yeah.
That means it's projected to go from about $34 million in 2021 to over $64 million by 2033, almost doubling.
Nearly doubling, yeah. And Saudi Arabia also shows significant growth, over 5% CAGR, moving from $60 million to over $110 million.
Seems like maybe new sports facilities, maybe increasing interest in active lifestyles are really driving things, particularly in the Gulf.
That seems plausible, yeah. And other countries like Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, they're also showing healthy expansion. KGRs ranging from 4.5% up to just under 5%.
So solid across the board.
Pretty much. Turkey's projected to hit nearly $70 million. Egypt, almost $39 million. Qatar, over $13 million by 2033. The Middle East, presents a very dynamic picture of rising squash engagement.
Yes. Dynamic Middle East. Now, to conclude our regional tour, let's land in Africa.
Right.
As we look at these figures, Maybe think about its relative position, its contribution to the global market, especially compared to those higher growth regions we just talked about.
Okay. Africa's market data, it shows it stood at about $82 million in 2021.
$82 million.
Expected to reach around $150 million by 2033. However, it registers the lowest regional TGR globally, just over 3%, 3.014%.
Ah, okay. So that gives a pretty clear picture. It's growing, but it's still, let's say, a developing market for squash equipment compared to others.
That's a fair assessment.
But even with that lower regional average, Nigeria is noted as a leading contributor within Africa, right?
Yes, Nigeria is projected to almost double, actually, from $18 million to over $35 million, with a 3.6% CAGR.
Okay, so outperforming the regional average.
And South Africa also plays a significant role, moving from about $14 million to nearly $27 million, showing a similar 3.5% CAGR.
Yeah.
So these two nations are clearly the main drivers on the continent. The rest of Africa segment, that shows more modest growth. CAGR just over 2.6%, moving from roughly $50 million to nearly $88 million. So it highlights that while the continent is expanding overall, the growth is somewhat concentrated in those key countries. A significant part of the region is, well, still developing its squash infrastructure.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've toured the globe. What does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to understand this, well, somewhat niche market?
They're bringing it all together.
The overall findings from this source seem crystal clear, right? The global squash equipment market is expanding steadily worldwide, consistently growing at over 4% annually.
Yeah, that's the big picture. But if we connect the dots, I think the most crucial takeaway is this regional difference.
Right.
While North America and Europe are large and, stable, it's Asia Pacific and the Middle East that are truly showing the strongest, the most dynamic growth momentum right now.
Which really makes you wonder why, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What specific factors are accelerating squash participation in equipment sales there?
Exactly. Is it, like you said, a growing middle class, increased investment in sports facilities, maybe the rise of professional squash leagues, creating more interest?
Could be any number of things.
The source doesn't explicitly state the why for each region, but the numbers themselves invite you to think more deeply about those global market trends and drivers.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the global squash equipment market. We really hope you've gained some valuable insights. It's just fascinating how even a seemingly niche market like this can actually reveal broader economic trends or, shifts in global sports participation and investment patterns.
It really can. And that leads us maybe to a final thought to leave you with.
Okay.
As this global growth in sports, especially in specific regions, continues to shift, what unexpected new markets might emerge for sports like squash? Or maybe how might the established regions, North America, Europe, how might they innovate and adapt to maintain their relevance in this evolving landscape?
Good question. Definitely something to mull over.
Yeah, something to think about until our next deep dive.